right, so I'm going to be posting this live video. This is a video review, and this is something I'm going to start doing on a regular basis because my YouTube page is really old. It needs to be updated. I am going to keep the existing videos out there um, for everybody to access, but I'm going to start adding more. I did a live video about a week ago, and I can't believe how many people are watching it. Um, I guess I'm not, well, I guess maybe I'm not so surprised because a lot of people do know about my YouTube channel, but it just hasn't been updated. So, I am going to start putting out fresh videos, but I'm going to start doing pattern reviews. Um, and giving my take on, what I think about the pattern, what I think needs to be done, just different things about the pattern in general. Um, until I learn how to edit and have, fancy intros and outros, you're not going to see those. You'll just see my videos or a thumbnail that I choose, which would probably be the garment that I completed. But I won't be doing these pattern reviews until I finish the actual garment. All right, so the first pattern that's up is this Vikisews Nancy blazer. This one just happened to be a whip that I started almost 2 years ago, probably about a year and a half ago. I did do the pants. The matching pants are Erica Bunker's Know Me pattern, and I'm not sure the number, but it's the sailor pants that she did. Hey, three people. It's the sailor pants that she did, and the fabric came from a store in New York City called Chic Fabrics. So I used a fabric called Bengaline. So the suggested fabrics for this, are they even on here? Yeah, they do have recommended. So hold on, let me put my glasses on so I can share with you the recommended. Choose suiting fabrics with the following properties: medium weight, easily pressed, shaped with steam, breathable, soft, non-stretch with a little stretch, opaque, means that you can't see through it, and the fabric content can include natural fibers, which are wool, silk, and cotton, and linen, artificial fibers, viscose, and of course polyester, blends, wool blends, silk wool, polyester cotton, viscose, etc. Synthetic fibers. So what I would recommend is definitely what they are talking about. If you work with something that's too light, when you start doing all their processes and following the instructions, interfacing and basting and that kind of thing, if your fabric is too light, your jacket's not going to turn out right. Okay, your interfacing is going to be a little bit too heavy, and you're going to have issues in certain places. Now, in a pattern like this, where it's a structured blazer, although it's cropped, I don't recommend that you shortcut. So if they say add a sleeve head, add a sleeve head. Add a shoulder pad, add a shoulder pad. And then what you'll get is the look that she has on the envelope. That's what you're going for, right? So this is, for me, on the scale from 1 to 10, uh, the instructions were very easy to read, and I found that a little bit surprising considering this is a pattern from Russia, right? So, um, and I've done Lamad patterns. I've done um, the one pattern that doesn't have any instructions, Marfi patterns. But I think that these have, and I've done La Cala before too in the past. These have a very good English translation, but you do have to have, for Vikisews, you do have to have uh, a little bit more than a basic sewing knowledge. So when they're talking to you in the instructions, you know exactly what it is that they're talking about. So I would say above average, not above average, above basic sewing level experience in order to get their patterns done. May take you a little longer because they're asking for a little bit more than the regular big fat patterns ask for, but it's doable, and I think you'll get through it. All right, so uh, The amount of pieces and all of that stuff, when it comes to making a blazer, I recommend that you don't be a piece pirate. It's 12 pieces, it's 70 pieces, it's 85 steps. Don't do that or you'll never get through your project without any problems. So erase all of that in your mindset and just put in your mindset that I'm making myself a blazer that I can use going forward and something that is going to be necessary for my use going forward. All right, hold on one second. I'm going to switch networks here because it looks like I'm having a network issue. Okay, seems like that's much better. So what I'll do is when I actually air this pattern, when I air this live, I will edit out the network change, but I have a stronger signal now. So if anybody was experiencing me freezing or dropping, that should stop going forward. All right, so once again, I'm talking about the Vikisews Nancy Blazer. You can get this on their website. It is back on their website. It was gone for a while. And then you can also get this on Amazon. And it comes in a paper form. If you've never ordered a Nancy Blazer pattern before, it's printed like on 20% weight paper, kind of like a AO pattern that you get from a plotting company. All right, let's talk about the alterations that I made. Oh, and here's something that's interesting about Nancy Blazer pattern, or Nancy or Vikisews patterns. I'm imagining because I did one blazer, they're all pretty much kind of the same when it comes to construction and the way that the instructions are set. This pattern did not, like the Big Five patterns, it did not require me to cut my lining 1 inch shorter. That is always an option for you. You can definitely cut your lining shorter when you get ready to install your lining onto any blazer. But I went on and I tried it their way and it worked out as well because when I show you the blazer, I'll show you the inside as well as the outside. The alterations that I made were, let me get a quick look at the pieces here. The alterations that I made to this pattern were to the actual sleeve. I did not, oh no, yes I did. I did a decrease of 1 inch on the sleeve, which is my usual alteration. I cut the size 52. By this being a Russian pattern, I figured let me go ahead and get the largest size. So in Big Five patterns, I wear anywhere between a 16 if I feel like doing the pattern alteration work to a 20. Normally I cut the 18 and I'll do some grading to the 20 and then down at the bottom I'll grade to a 16 because there's combo sizes on that pattern. That usually works for me. But because this was my first ever Vikisews pattern, I wanted to go the largest size. I did do a muslin for this garment, and when I did the muslin, it was absolutely huge. Another thing that I heard about Vikisews patterns from the smaller girls were saying that the arms were too tight. I didn't run into that issue. I think that after the sizes get a little bit larger, so does the arms, the bicep area, and the actual pattern itself gets larger. So I did not have problems with the actual size of the sleeve. The only thing that I had to do was lengthen or shorten the sleeve, and in my case, like I said, I shortened the sleeve 1 inch. Another thing that I did as far as alteration, because I was going by the size 52, and I was also, which was larger on me, I did notice that the shoulder was hanging off of the edge. When I wear my blazers, I don't want the shoulder hanging off the edge. I want it right at the cap or maybe 1/8 of an inch past my shoulder. I'm good with that if there's shoulder pads because it really does make your shoulder line look nice and straight across. What I did here was I decreased the shoulder. I can see my decrease mark by 1/4 of an inch. And so when you do a decrease on a pattern paper, you're actually taking 1/4 off the front, 1/4 off the back, which equals 1 full half inch. So I took a half an inch off the width of the shoulder because it was literally just that long. The pattern called for a larger shoulder pad. I went with a smaller shoulder pad and also a sleeve head, which probably is the reason why their shoulder line is so long. But I'm not very tall, so I have a smaller body frame, although I have a full bust, full thighs, and a full stomach. So I had to do a shoulder adjustment. I did not shorten the jacket because I knew it was going to be cropped. And by me being short, my torso is shorter. So when I hem it, it's going to be a decent length on me. So I didn't worry about shortening the blazer at all. All right, so here is the jacket. And eventually, like I said, when I originally cut the original pattern, I did a size 50 because they have the European sizes here. A 50 is equivalent to a size 20. So when I went down, you might as well, when I went down to, first I cut the 52, did a muslin, it was too big, which was the 20. So I cut the 50, which is actually equivalent to a US size 18. And that's generally what I usually cut. And then when I cut an 18, then I only have to do shortening alterations in the torso area, in the sleeve area. Everything else pretty much fits me as regular. I did not have to do a low bust adjustment. The only thing I did here in the darts in the jacket, there are two darts, shaping darts in the front of the jacket. What I did was I did not go all the way up as the pattern indicated, so I brought my darts down to my lower bust measurement. So my darts are a lot shorter here in the front for shaping. Okay, the fabric that I used, let me bring it a little closer. Yeah. The fabric that I used to make this jacket is called Bingaline. Bingaline is a fabric that has a polyester base. There's also elastic inside of it. So it's kind of a stretch fabric, and it is definitely considered a stretch woven. So in order to keep this fabric from being all over the place, I went on ahead and I interfaced the whole garment. So I did what's called a block fuse. Before I cut my garment out, I took my fabric and I put interfacing on the back of the fabric. I pressed it on with my heat press. Then I laid the pattern pieces out and cut them out. So once I cut the pattern pieces out, the complete pattern was interfaced. I did not do that for the sleeves because I need my sleeves to be pliable. Sleeves have to have ease so you can move. So I cut the sleeves out on separate fabric, the cut piece of fabric, cut the sleeves out on separate fabric, and then I went ahead and block fused another piece for the bodice, the collar, and everything else. The only thing that I did here different than the pattern is I put a roll line in my blazer on the neckline. I don't recall them asking for a roll line. They may have, but I put a roll line, which is a piece of twill tape that sits here, which allows the collar to fall open in the same place all the time. But you can see mine is fairly stiff because, like I said, I block fuse my fabric, so this whole jacket is interfaced throughout, except for in the sleeves, I interface as the pattern recommended, which was here at the sleeve cap, and then also here at the hem. Okay, so Bingaline, like I said, is considered a stretch woven fabric. So the interfacing that I did made the jacket much tougher. Okay, it's a double-breasted jacket here, and then it has a double breast, but a belt on the back. And you can see here, I use different buttons. I actually lost one of my buttons, This button is the same as the button on the front. It's just that they're different colors. So I had these in my stash, and I'm like, I guess that might be kind of cool. The pants that I made have the buttons on the front, and the pants are sailor pants. Because this is a short crop jacket, the buttons are going to be very visible. So I wanted the buttons on the pants to match the front of the jacket. But like I said, these buttons here are the same buttons. They're just a different color. This one is also a smaller button. This button here is 3/4 of an inch. And then the buttons on the front are actually 1 inch. I don't think there might be an inch and a quarter, but I think they're 1 inch buttons. And you can see here. On the pants, I was able to use 5/8 buttons. They're the uh, same button style, just a smaller button on the pants. And these buttons came from Pacific Trim in New York City. So they probably got a little sick of me calling them back and ordering all kind of buttons. So here there's a little, like, I guess a decorative, I don't know, scarf thing. This is an actual real pocket. I have mine basted shut because I knew I wasn't going to put anything in there, which is kind of stupid. Let me show you the actual pattern. It's a little bit better, more visible. And you can see that detail right there. Okay. And everything else is pretty much the same. The collar is a little bit different. It has an extra piece here on the back, which allows for a little bit more shaping on the actual bend of the collar. And it's on the bias because it's angled. And we got a regular center back seam here on the jacket, which allows for shaping if you have a sway back or anything like that. So the jacket itself was drafted very well. You can see here on the shoulder, on the elbow, you can see there's an elbow curve. The elbow curve here was actually built into the pattern. This is a two-piece sleeve. The second part of the sleeve goes straight up the center here, so there is not a center seam. There's seams on either side of the bottom. And like I said, the actual pattern itself was curved here. So this allowed for the ease in the sleeve, which I thought was a really nice touch in the Vikisews pattern. Okay, so because when you're standing normally, this is how your arm falls anyway. Does not go straight up and down. There's a natural bend at the elbow, and it's just like that naturally. So I think all of their patterns are probably cut this way. If they are, that's a great idea. I know Vikisews concentrates on gentle tailoring or soft tailoring when they do their blazers. Although this is the only one that I've ever sewn, I have read a lot of their instructions because I do have a lot of their patterns on purchase. All right, so this is a fully lined double-breasted jacket, and what they did for the fully lined double breast is there's not two buttonholes here on the front. There's a single buttonhole here, one button attached to the actual fabric. So when you wear the jacket open, you can see each button. So that's actually a style design, and there is no rule stating that it's got to be this way because it's double breast. But this is how it is. So when the jacket is worn open, you can actually see the double breast. Here's the second button for the underneath. And then what they do is they have you stitch, get a little closer. They have you stitch another button underneath in order to connect the other side. So this button and my top button here are stitched together. And what that does is that allows for a little bit more safety and keeps this button nice and secure. One thing that I mentioned earlier to some people who were following me earlier while I was making the blazer, and there is a video of me doing the lining. It's just a live video of me chit-chatting it up while I was doing the lining. This is the thread that I use when I sew buttons onto my jackets and coats. This is called pearl cotton. You can find it at any craft store near the embroidery floss. And you can see here that it's a twisted fiber and it's really thick. What's nice about the pearl cotton is it comes in a lot of colors, but when you stitch with the pearl cotton, you only have to go through, like, I'll do 4 passes through, and my button is secure, it's tight, it's not moving, it's not wobbling. And then if I don't have a shank, in this case, this is a 2-hole button that doesn't have a shank. When you take this and you twist it around the bottom of the base of the button that doesn't have a shank, it creates a really nice thick base that raises the button up. So the shank, when you create a shank, it works really nicely. So this particular button here, I had the shank, and let's turn it this way. You can actually see it raised off of the fabric. And that is just for me twisting around. And I think I twisted around here. Maybe I did 3 twists around, pulled the button off. So now when I button my jacket, there's room in there for that second layer of fabric. All right, so let me flip the jacket on the inside out so you guys can get a look at the lining. The jacket itself is fully lined. And I'll talk a little bit about the way they constructed the jacket without shortening the lining. And turning it inside out also gives us a look at the actual neck of the jacket. Right, let me turn it this way. Okay, now here's the jacket on the inside. One thing that they like to do, and I've noticed this in a lot of the foreign patterns that I've sewn in the past, when it comes to bust darts or darting on the actual fabric, they'll put the bust dart here right at the bust point. So it's important they'll put a pleat here on the pattern, but I would suggest that when you size yourself or when you put the actual pattern on yourself, or if you complete a muslin, you want to line up the pleat to where your bust is. I'm going to see if I can grab the actual pattern piece. Looks like these are just the points. Oh, here it is. Okay. So here is the actual front lining pattern piece. Pardon my hair, this is something here. Here's the front lining pattern piece here. There's a pleat here, and the pleat is to be folded in the down direction. As you can see here, it's folded down. So if you are a person with a smaller bust, maybe you may need the pleat a little higher. Maybe you may need the pleat a little lower. But when I actually tried it on, it was right where I needed to be. So I was okay with the pleat there. And then they also, they have lines in the pattern which are their way of resembling notches. On the Big 5 patterns, the notches are normally in triangles, but here they have regular lines where you can actually clip into the fabric or note the notch whatever way you see fit that works for you. I like to clip into the fabric because they're a little bit more visible as you're sewing and manipulating the fabric. Okay, it's a fully lined jacket. There were separate lining pieces here. One full facing. The facing also has interfacing on it as well. And I just used this teal nylon fabric here because it was in my stash and there was just a little piece left. So that's what I did. Now, I actually have my entrance here on the actual sleeve, but on the Vikisews pattern, they ask you to leave an opening at the bottom. I didn't want an opening here at the bottom of my blazer. I just wanted to go ahead and bag it and close it all the way across, which I did. So I left my opening here on the sleeve. And then you just follow the same directions when you bag the sleeve and the sleeve lining. When you put the sleeves together, it's the same thing. So what I usually do is I'll pull the sleeves down. I'll just kind of hang it on my dress form, work it down, let the folds automatically drop, and it's usually never below the actual fabric, so you don't have to worry about the lining peeking out on the actual garment itself. Another thing that I liked about their jacket was, or their blazer pattern, was here in the back. And let me get a seam ripper because I did not take it out. On the back of their patterns, or some of their patterns, they have the eased lining here. So what you do with an eased lining is it has a pleat in the back. So what you would do is stitch from the top to the bottom. And now this was not mentioned in their pattern, but me being an experienced seamstress, what I usually do for patterns that have a pleat in the back is from the neckline, I'll stitch down about an inch and a half, and then I secure the stitching. And then the rest is basted until you get to their marking. You back stitch, and then you go ahead and do a regular stitch in order to close it up. Then once the jacket is complete, then this pleat is to be opened. And I have not worn this jacket yet, so I'm going to take the pleat out right now. Just going to pull up a little bit. Actually, that is going up. This thread here is going down. And I can see that my permanent stitch starts now. The dual seam ripper here. I'm like, why am I messing around with this? Let's rip it, get it out. I'm just taking out the extra threads here. And then now you can see here where the pleat, or it's like an ease pleat that's here. It's actually stitched closed on the inside. The pleat itself is usually an inch as far as how deep it is. It's usually ease, so about an inch. So what happens here with this is when you are moving your arms or you got to bend over because you dropped your pin at work, this allows, there we go. This allows the jacket to spread apart on the inside without any issues. So I really like the fact that they have the pleat here. I know Mimi G has a new blazer that's out, and she actually has the ease pleat in her pattern. And I thought that was a nice feature to include on that actual pattern. I don't have my scissors, so I'm using the dual seam ripper. Okay, yeah. So it stops right here. So my pleat My ease pleat is literally right in the shoulder area, right in the arm's area, in case I need to uh, stretch my arms, or like I said, bend over. It allows that. So this is part of the actual jacket, and the instructions walk you through how to add the actual pleat. So I took the threads out, and I got my finger in there so you can actually see how deep it is. It's about an inch deep. Okay, you can also see the seams on the jacket here, that this is a two-part sleeve. It's a two-part lining, two-part sleeve on the jacket center. And then here is what I was talking about for the actual back of the jacket. I'm going to take it off here so I can bring it closer to the camera. The way that there is an extra pattern piece here on the back neck, and you can actually see that piece here, and that allows the jacket to turn really nicely. So there is a collar stand here. Okay, have a good day. There's an actual collar stand here in the jacket, which allows turning of the actual collar on the jacket. And this is also a really nice feature that is added to this pattern. So they do come really close to traditional tailoring when it comes to the pieces that are allowed on this jacket. But it's not traditional tailoring, it's soft tailoring. There is a few hand stitching things there, but this jacket was done on machine. Okay, I'm gonna put her back on. This one having a hard time buttoning. Oh. I was buttoning it, putting the big button in the small hole. I'm like, why is this an issue? Because it's right over the front. All right, so now, and then like I said, in this pattern, they included sleeve heads and shoulder pads, which was also very nice. If you've never installed a sleeve head before, they also walk you through how to install a sleeve head. Sleeve heads are to keep this top of your shoulder from collapsing, and then you have a nice line here from the top of the shoulder to the top of the shoulder cap. So I have 1/2 inch, no, I have 1/4 inch sleeve shoulder pads. So they're really thin. I didn't want to look like a football player because I'm short, the jacket is cropped, so I didn't want too much shoulder action, but I did want that nice shape of the shoulder, and I did get that with a smaller shoulder pad. So you just have to consider, you know, what it is that you want, how it is that you like your garments to fit, and yeah, just how you want it to fit. Again, this is the Vikisews